Welcome to Book Club. Tova Privet here, Emerald Ambassador, and we're going over Success is a Choice. Hopefully everybody has the book by now, and we're on chapters 5 and 6. So lots to go over, and I'm curious to hear what all of you guys thought. I have on my notes here so I don't leave anything important out. So these chapters really went over what to do with our energy and our focus, and then how to prepare. So two kind of different topics, but ones that we are very important to our business, obviously. And I felt like a lot of what he went over was very applicable to what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I liked how specific he got on stuff. And I love me some lists. And so he's all about the numbered lists, which is right up my alley. So to start with, to focus your energy. So kind of what he talked about, yeah, I just love the list. I feel like it's just clear and I can stay on track. So be all there. I think this is important because it's really easy. We have a lot of things going on in our business at once, between signing new people, new customers, new business builders, sticking with our training and our personal development, following up with people who haven't taken the products yet, following up with people who are, staying up on new products. There's all sorts of stuff to do. So I think wherever you're at, really try to be all there. That goes for working your business, and I think being careful about multitasking, because I used to get really carried away with, oh, I can cook dinner and do laundry and do training stuff. And you can, to some degree, multitask, but be careful that when you work your business, you don't want to feel like you're working your business all day long. So really, when you work your business, be all there. And Brooke Hemingway talks about setting timers sometimes, where she'll set a timer for 20 minutes and she's just going to do follow-ups for 20 minutes, and then see, like, race yourself how many you can get done, and then 20 minutes for cold reach outs. Whatever you want to do for that day, I encourage you, test that out. You never know until you try it. And to tell your brain, hey, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to mute my phone notifications for when I'm doing this. I think it was Tiffany Wilson said she likes to work on her desktop a lot and not always her phone. So maybe there's certain things that you're just going to do on your desktop, but point being is you're going to be mentally present when you're there, and your brain will start to learn that also. You got to give yourself some time to, oh, Tiffany, was that you that likes to work on your laptop? I like to work a lot on my laptop, and I like to do different things on my phone. So my brain kind of associates what I'm doing with where I'm at, if I'm in my office, and if I'm doing certain things on my laptop, as opposed to just doing other things on my phone. So what's the target? A narrow focus and clear objectives. If you think about any textbooks that, throw back to your college days or whatever, all the chapters always started with, these are objectives for the chapter. So I think that's important to keep with your business for short, medium, and long term, kind of to make sure it's your outline. If you've ever tried to write a paper without an outline, you're all over the place. And I think it's the same thing kind of with your business, even day to day. And for that, if you're going to work for an hour, you're going to do 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and 20 minutes. Be really clear on what you want to do in that time, and that will prevent you from not being all there. So back to number 1. Know where you're headed and striving. I really like this, where you should be striving and reaching and pushing. And even if we don't make it all the way there, it's like, shoot for the stars and reach the moon. Is that the saying, or did I invert it? But the point is, when you're even trying and putting forth effort, you're going to naturally be elevating, and you can't help but be moving forward if you're trying. And I think that's really, there's 2 parts to it. And I've talked about it with my vision casting with my team, about having your huge why. But then almost, I was listening to a podcast by a guy who's done 100 Ironmans over 15 years, something crazy like that. But it was talking about where you have the huge goal of the Ironman, and that's important, and that's your why. But when you're training, you need to put that on the shelf, and you need to just focus on today. And like, what are the weights I'm lifting today? What are the miles I'm doing today? Because sometimes if you focus too much on, you don't want to let the huge goal overwhelm you. You need to break it up into bite-sized pieces. So if it feels overwhelming, you need to make more benchmarks for yourself. So it can still be a big motivator, but you need to have small wins along the way. And that goes to kind of reverse engineering your goal. And your upline can help you do that if you feel like you're not good at doing that by yourself. What you focus on expands. This is so, so true. And it's easy to say, and it's easy to sit here and preach, and it can be hard to put into practice. And I'll tell you, so when you have a mosquito bite, that's what I always think of. Like, it is in the forefront of your head. It's annoying. It's obnoxious. Anybody who has bad reactions, at least to mosquito bites, or if you have a splinter. Point is, when you have something not awesome and a problem and an annoyance, it tends to be in the forefront of your head. You got to really keep your mindset in check in your business, that you're not letting the little hiccups and the little obstacles always be in the forefront, because if you stare at that, that's going to get bigger and bigger, and you're actually feeding your energy into that. So yeah, we address problems as they come, but if you're not purposeful with focusing on the good and focusing on your goals every single day, those obstacles and challenges are going to pop up every single day. And so all your good is still there, but if you just leave it in the background, the noise of problems can sometimes start to drown out why you're here and what you're doing it for. So make sure you're revisiting those all the time, whether that's a screensaver on the back of your phone, whatever, a certain podcast that you like or certain person you talk to. Just know what kind of feeds your vision and helps you get refocused. If it's meditating, you got to kind of experiment with things and figure out what gets you refocused, but you actually have to make an effort to do it. And then the point number 5, he puts on your energies, remain focused. It's a constant process. And we've kind of hit on that, what you're doing daily. So I said it before with one of my calls with my team, that your business is kind of like a plant. It's a living, growing thing, and you have to fertilize it, and you have to weed it, and you have to make sure it's getting enough sunlight, not too much. So it's this constant process of keeping this thing alive, and it can be a lot of fun. And sometimes you got to ask people, what fertilizer did you use? What'd you do with this? What'd you do with that? What's the best tricks? But you can't just let it sit there and not water it for 3 or 4 days and hope everything's okay. So that kind of speaks to your energy. Be all there, keep your focus narrow with clear objectives, what you're doing short term, medium term, long term. Always be striving and trying to elevate in each area. What you're focusing on expands, and it's a constant daily process. So then he kind of went into 8 points of increasing your focus. So he specifically talked about focusing your energy, and then he kind of moved on to being intentional with your focus. So that's number 1. What are you pursuing? Doing the right things moment to moment. Our team is wonderful with making this super clear for everybody. So if you're not dead clear on that, really IPA is what you need to be doing, and making sure that you're doing that first, because it's easy to get distracted by other things. Challenge excuses. So success are those people who decide to overcome the excuses. And to hit on one of the points you just made, I think it's the people who don't focus on excuses. So what you focus on expands. We all have excuses. And the thing, I can't remember who it's from, but Natalie says it to me, that dangerous thing about excuses is they're all valid. All of our excuses are legit. But we have hundreds of stories about people who did it in spite of, instead of. So, you see solutions, you don't see problems. It's the whole thing with Simon Sinek. Do you see a line waiting for the donuts, or do you see free donuts or free bagels, for that example, if you guys know that one? Okay, yesterday is gone. Successful people have a short memory. I love this. My favorite example, I think, out of both of these chapters was the rear view mirror one. So if you're driving a car and you keep looking in the rear view mirror too much, things are not going to turn out well. Okay. You're going to find yourself crashed or off the road pretty soon. I love that. So all we can do is take some lessons from yesterday's and move on. And he kind of pairs that with being present. You don't want to be stuck in the past. You don't want to be staring too much at the future. That can stop you from acting and moving forward. And looking back is the same thing. I find both of those things will kind of freeze you sometimes and decrease your amount of action. So work on being present. There's a bunch of mindfulness apps out there, mindfulness exercises you can do, and grounding exercises you can do to really see if you're being present. present. It can be a tricky thing, but it's a habit. So is looking at yesterday and tomorrow. So again, a lot of these things are just being mindful and checking yourself. Where am I at? Am I actually doing that? Where do I find my thoughts? Have a little reminder on your watch or something to check in and be mindful and be present. Results focused. If you results and reward focused, otherwise you'll get discouraged. So I think again, this just reinforces what you focus on is what you're going to get more of. I kind of think of an example as of jogging. Sometimes if you're a runner, you have really good runs, mediocre runs, bad runs. If during your run all you're thinking about is feeling out of breath and that your legs are tired, that run is not going to go well. So you have to find a way to think about the end of the run, think of the positives in the run. So it's what you're choosing to focus on. And that doesn't necessarily mean it would be the absolute best one. Every day can't be our absolute best day. So that being said, that's information that you can act on. What are you going to focus on? What are you going to choose to focus on each day? And it really is true. What you look at gets bigger. Your priorities, and within the results focus, you said be careful of the 5 R's, the type of people, and 3 of them, the first 3 were okay. I don't have it right in front of me, but the last 2 were more of the takers and the naysayers. So be careful who you're letting kind of in your inner circle. Priorities, they determine, you must have a few, and they determine our commitments. So you make time for what you want, period. If Netflix is really important to you and watching that show, you somehow find time to do it. Okay. So I'm not saying you don't have time to watch your show, but you definitely have time to work your business. You just gotta, get disciplined. And he kind of talks about that some more in the next chapter. And strengths, focusing on your strengths, and with the penny example that he talked about, not trying to shine some old copper, just work with the gold that you have. And he talked about that some, I think, last week, where know your strengths. If you've never done the strength finder test, I think it's like $20. There's a free version and then a more expanded version that's worth doing, and knowing what you're really good at. And luckily we have a team of people. You don't have to be good at everything. All right, I'm going to go through chapter 6 quickly. It was about preparation. This should go without saying, but I talked about it on another call with the football example, the NFL example, how most of what they do is preparing for the game. You got to think how many hours those guys work in a year, very well compensated for it, but most of what they do percentage wise is preparation. And so we need to do the same thing. You don't wait until somebody has an objection for you. It's okay if you don't know the answer, but the point is, people are going to have certain objections. You're going to have to go through the website. You're going to need to find stuff in your back office. So I really think a lot of preparation goes to being proactive and learning things and digging into things. And if you don't know what to learn, ask. I promise we have a big list of things that you should study and get familiar with if you don't know. So preparation principles, he had 6 of them. We'll go through quick. Tap into talent to max out your time. He kind of talked about using your time wisely when he was on that trip. It's a process. It's not an event. So this is a daily preparation and I think it's a daily preparation process. It goes hand in hand with your clear objectives, what you're going to do each day, staying focused, and you're being prepared so that you're focusing your energy in the right spot. They really do kind of complement each other well. If you wait it says preparation precedes opposition. If you wait for that, it's too late. Opportunity, excuse me. So you can't wait for opportunities to come to know what to say. So you need to talk to your upline when someone's interested, when someone has a problem. I see people's questions or quote unquote problems as an opportunity. That's a perfect opportunity to educate somebody all about the products and all about what their body's doing. So stop viewing it as like, oh no, this is a problem that I have to deal with now. All of it's how you view it. The right use of today. If you believe your success tomorrow depends on today, you'll treat today differently. I loved that. And the best example I could think of was cramming for a test in high school or college. Why would you stay up the night before and cram and cram and cram and give up sleep and give up food? Why would you do that? Because you know that that action makes a difference for tomorrow. Your business shouldn't be any different. If you do it every day, you don't have to cram. But like if you think about the night before rank ups and stuff, how we're in there, it's like cramming for a test. Your action dictates what's going to happen the next day. So that should show you, if we do that right before rank ups, like just do that all the time. And you don't have to necessarily do that many hours, that intensity. But if you do that intentionality every day, it's going to pay off. All right, and then good perspective, the example with Lincoln about how much of his time he would spend sharpening the axe versus using it. And then leads to action. Don't get bogged down with preparation too much. Like I would sit all day and make binders and Excel sheets if I could have it my way before I actually started sending out messages. I would come up with 100 systems on how to track all the messages I'm going to send out. So don't self-sabotage in that way. Make sure you get into action. When you don't know what to do, act. And what that means in this business is send cold messages. Okay. Follow up and send cold messages. When you don't know what to do that. And you're pretty much going to be safe. You can't really go wrong there. And then he talks a little bit about his golf stuff at the end, but I think we've hit on most of it. So I went over a little bit. So you guys go ahead and jump in and tell me some of your favorite takeaways.
Yes, I love these chapters so much. I loved his definition of success on page 51, where it talks about, he says, success is the progressive realization of a predetermined worthwhile goal. And I just really love that definition. And then he goes on to talk about how success is not an event, it's a process. And I think that was just so good. And then I really love the don't let yesterday hijack your attention, because I think, we learn from the past, right? So like we kind of have to revisit it and be like, okay, yeah, I did that, didn't work out, I'm not gonna do it again. But I think sometimes when we get stuck in that, it's not good, obviously. And when he says that successful people forget, that like really stuck with me, and I just love that. Obviously, then he goes to talk about being present. And then one of my favorite things in chapter 6 was the last one, attitude. Am I visualizing correctly? That was so powerful. And when in the first paragraph, he says, if you can't imagine it, you probably will not be able to achieve it. And I mean, this month I'm like revisiting my why, and I like can see myself, like walking on the stage, and I'm like, I can see it. Like I know that it's there. So I just thought that was so good.
That is so good. I love the stage thing. I don't know why, but that resonates for me too. Like maybe because we were there when we saw people walk across the stage, but that's a big one. But you have to find that. Everybody's got to find that for them. If it's you filming your diamond documentary, if it's you up on stage, whatever it is, I agree. You have to be able to see it. And professional athletes talk about that all the time.
I wanted to say, after Natalie said that, for real, that was very inspiring to me. I would watch Sonia Dudley speaking on stage and the very poor quality of video that we had back then. And that really did inspire me. Every time I thought about where I was going, I would constantly fill my mind and see myself up there. Like I could feel it. And it was amazing. So I encourage you guys to watch any videos that have been from conventions past and picture yourself. And what, for me, it wasn't anybody else seeing me up there. It was, what was I going to feel knowing that I've done this? Because to be in that front of that many people with the lights and the music, it is an emotional feeling. And I went to convention 2 years as a gold. So the next year to go back as a diamond, it was crazy. And then even to see my jewels up there on the stage and have them with me, that was another feeling too. I know a lot of people picture themselves in Hawaii and how's that going to feel to them, that success. So I love that. And then my absolute favorite part, of course, was on page 53, challenging your excuses. And we all have things in life. I mean, I tell my sister all the time, like, yeah, that's life. Welcome to life. We all have these things that could stop us, right? Anything, like you're tired, or you don't have enough help with the kids, or the kids are screaming, or they're fighting, or you don't feel good, whatever. There's always something. That's something I say too. There's always something. But if you have a big enough goal, you're not going to let those excuses, which Tova said, they're legit. That's the scary part, is they are real. These are real things that could stop you from working your business. But if you have a big enough belief and vision for what you are doing to change your life and to change other people's lives, those excuses are just going to be that. You're going to push them to the side, and it's not going to matter that it was a hard day, because you have a goal. You see yourself on the stage, or you see yourself bringing in that income for your family. So I just know that's possible. So I love that.
So good.
I love the I think that visualization is very underrated in this business. I feel like I always had like a picture of the stage as my screensaver on my phone, like a picture of the stage, like a collage, like the stage, Hawaii, all of it on the screensaver, the lock screen of my phone, where I see literally hundreds of times a day, for months and months on end. And so, yeah, like you have to be able to visualize that. And I think that's so, like, people think it's cheesy to have a vision board or to have that collage on your phone or whatever, the thing that says, but it's not cheesy. It's like priming your brain to focus. As someone with ADD, focus is like an extreme intentional work that I do every single day, because I won't focus unless I'm extremely intentional about it. So I highly recommend like doing something like that to create more visualization in your life. My favorite part was page 52. Where he says people who are undecided about what they want to do or where they want to go cannot tap into their strength or will, their strength of will or their talent. As a result, they will merely drift along. Nicole and I had a really great conversation today about being decided, and how being decided is a really big part of success in this business, because so many people waste an incredible amount of energy, and there's all of this drama around not being decided on, are they doing this, are they not doing this, what are they going to do, what are they not going to do, like, will this work, will this not work. That is so unsteady, and you cannot build a solid business unless you are solidly decided. Because like he says later on page 52, have you asked yourself what you really want to do, and have you determined that you will pursue it against the odds, despite the obstacles, and regardless of the circumstances? Every single month, it's going to be something's going to happen every single month. Your excuses are valid, but you have to overcome them. If you're sick, you work from your bed. But that comes from being decided, no matter what your circumstances, against all the odds, despite the obstacles. So that is like your solid foundation of your business, being decided. It's not, maybe I'll do it if it works out. Like, I'm going to do this no matter what, even if I'm gold for 18 months, right, Fallon? Like, even if I go back in points, 500 points, I'm still going to make it work because I decided. And so that's my favorite part.
That's so good. Yes. Being solidly decided.
Yeah, that's what I had. That's what I was gonna share because like that point right there, I can even say for me, it's like before when I first started, I hadn't really made that decision. And so I think when things got hard, I was just like, whatever, you know? But really just being decided and then going down what she just said, that despite like against the odds, despite the obstacles, regardless of the circumstances, because now I can say I'm at a point where I decided. So it's like, okay, this came up, and not that there aren't motions or, you know, like saying, okay, this is valid, whatever happens in the month or the week, but knowing that you're going to show up regardless. I think that's part of leadership too. And part of, are you going to lead a team? Is your team going to develop people? Because until you really do take ownership, and we were just talking on the Ruby call, but just taking ownership and stuff and being able to lead, because that's what is big on this business. And then also, I thought it was really cool. It took me back to high school about the visualization. I had a really great coach. He was my cross country coach and then also my pole vaulting coach. But he used to tell me to visualize. I was at the state meet and you have 3 attempts in pole vaulting to clear a height. And it was my senior year. I was going for the state record and I had missed the first 2 like marks. And he told me, he was like, Kylie, like close your eyes, visualize the technique, visualize yourself going over, visualize yourself clearing this, breaking the record, like all the things. And I was kind of like, okay, like how can you be calm in this moment? How can you visualize anything? But I did, and I cleared it, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's just so smart. And he told me that in a cross country meet too before, like, you know, before this run, close your eyes, really visualize the run and what you want. And I think that it's so powerful because that ended up being my best run of the whole season. So there really is something to being able to visualize and like your goals, and like it's like you can taste it almost, and you're like, okay, that's where I'm going. And then it goes, you know, you're decided. So I think those go hand in hand. And then also talking about on 48, where he's saying if you lack focus, you'll be all over the place, attempting everything, like attempting nothing. It will suck the life out of you. And I think that's true. If you don't have focus, you're going to feel more tired. And then he does say a little bit down, focus gives you energy. So those are the biggest. Oh, and then down below that, I also had that highlighted about the strengths. Few men during their lifetime come anywhere near exhausting the resources dwelling within them. There are deep wells of strength that are never used. One of the reasons those wells often go untapped is lack of focus. And I always think about how we're all so different and we all have like strengths that God gave us. And like, man, why let those go to waste? You know, you ever just see somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, they'd be so good at that. Or I wonder what their strength is. And they're like not doing anything with their life. It like drives me insane. But yeah, those were my biggest. I really like this book. It's like my favorite. I've never read it. So it's like really good.
It's so good. I think what you said about visualizing, it goes hand in hand with what to say when you talk to yourself, because I think it's like it's the same part of your brain when you're visualizing and talking about how you're going to be there and what your brain is seeking to achieve and find.
I love this book too. I really like on page 54 where he talks about if you focus on today, you get better tomorrow. There's some people who are so worried, like, oh my gosh, how many points is it to get to, oops. That's weird. It cut me off. Someone tried calling. Anyway, get to where I want to go. And they're worried about every single little thing. And they can't even focus on today because they're so worried about these things that literally don't matter sometimes. So I really liked that. And then also same page where he talks about how he spends time thinking daily so he can apply what he's learning. A lot of times, you know, we're just something about us people in life, we just want something going on all the time. If it's quiet, we want to turn something on, like to listen to learn, TV, whatever. But he really talks about, I think I've heard this somewhere else too, that you just need that quiet time to actually focus on what you're trying to retain. So instead of just filling your head with constant noise and all that. So yeah, I really like that. And then he says he writes daily so he can remember what he learned.
Yeah, it makes me think like maybe include that in a gratitude journal, like writing something down that you learned each day or one or two things with it. I know a lot of us do gratitude journals. We should do that.
I can talk this week. So I liked on page 57, something to think about was he said what the professor had said, that not the past, but the future conditions you. You commit yourself to become determines what you are. And anything that happened to you yesterday doesn't matter, or the day before, it's now. And he asked the questions, what are your commitments? Where are you going? What are you going to be? And that was, I thought about that a lot because in the beginning of my business, I've mentioned this sometimes, but I was, like people are afraid to post, or they're worried about what other people are going to think about them, or, all of it. And I had been at a wedding, and like, I don't even think I had hit gold yet. And my husband's whole family, they were making fun of me. Like, my sister-in-law had sent like my mom messages saying that like Tiffany's taking like these diet pills, she's gonna kill herself, and like this crazy stuff, right? Like, and his whole family, like at this breakfast table before this wedding, were just like laughing. And I was like, y'all, like, I don't even care what you have to say, because I am going to be in Hawaii. I'm going to have my Lexus, and I am going to be a six-figure earner. So, and I knew that was what was going to happen. I knew the direction I was going. I wasn't going to, ruby, emerald, sapphire. Like, I was going straight to diamond. And that was what pushed me every single day through my business, was focusing on that was where I was going. And I mean, honestly, y'all, anytime somebody says stuff like that to me, I'm like, okay, they just made me so daggone mad that I'm gonna show them where I'm going. Like, I use that to my advantage when somebody says that. And I'm like, oh, they don't think that? Okay, let's watch. Like, because it makes me so mad, which is how I felt at that breakfast, that I was like, I don't even care what I have to do, Greg. Like, that's part of my new why, just because your family said that to me. So, I mean, and he's right. And they say that, the world opens up for those that know where they're going. Like, you have opportunities at you when you put in the effort and the work and the action, and you know where you're headed. So I love that part.
I wanted to hop in here really quick and share something. My phone died, so if somebody has already touched on this, so sorry. But I am newer in my business. My business is about a year old. And so this really resonated with me. On page 64, it said legendary UCLA basketball coach John Woodman said that the best way to improve your team is to improve yourself. And this last year, I have seen that exponentially. If I could take my business and section it off into my first 6 months and this last 6 months, I have really focused on my personal growth. And I've really decided, I'm going to develop me. I don't know all the things, and I still don't, but I'm learning as I go. And as I'm going, I'm learning that because this business is such a duplication business, the people we onboard, they duplicate what we do. I'm constantly improving myself so that the people that onboard with me are duplicating something really valuable. And so to me, that resonated a lot with me, just because my business is still so small, like such a baby still, but I love it so much and I'm nurturing it the best that I can. And then a little ways down, it says, don't try to be better than somebody else, but never cease trying to be the best you can be. And I think authenticity is so important in this business, because that's what builds trust with your people. And so never trying to, there's no room for competition here. It's not a competition. It's I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to think of, the word that I'm trying to think of, but yeah, it's not about competition. It's just about being the best that you can be, the best leader, and developing those leaders along the way. But the way to have a really solid team is to first look at yourself and improve yourself.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. There's room for everybody. I always think of like the Spartan races. Of course, there's like the one or two people there that are like there to win, but most of us are there to finish, and the complete strangers helping each other over the obstacles. And I feel like our team is wonderful with that. Like we're all good at different things, and we're all here to reach back and help each other. That's why I love us. Anybody else have some favorite points they want to hit on? Going once, going twice. All right, guys, it was an awesome conversation tonight. I appreciate everybody's feedback. Went over a little bit, but so much input. I love it. But we'll see you guys next week for chapters 5 to 5, 6, so 7 and 8 next week. Have a good rest of your week.